And it's a beautiful morning here in Pasig City, Philippines, where we're going to continue day 2 of building our city. So on day 1, we've developed a pretty here, about I'd say 1/3 of it, population of nearly 5,000, and we've got a pretty healthy income of 7,344 a week. And we've got a pretty good bank account of 173,000, so we did pretty good in our first day. Not that our city doesn't have its share of problems, as you can see. Looks like our factories here need more workers. So we have a big demand for residential, so obviously the computer wants us to build more people. I'm debating in my mind whether I should just build residential in the areas here or expand the city more on the right side where it's empty. I think I'll build more residential in this side of the map. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm hoping we can solve most of the problem in this part of the map before we expand to the right side, because we're just gonna carry over the problem, and then our citizens will have to commute across the map. Oh, look at that! That little rock is gonna get destroyed. Sorry, little rock. Cool. Awesome. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and zone that for residential and make sure that our new citizens have proper access to water. How are we doing on water? Oh, we need to get more water pumps and sewage treatment. So let's do that. Sewage treatment first. And water pump next. Alright. Awesome. So I think we need to build more residential. It's still in great demand, but let's speed up the game. Maybe the game just hasn't caught up yet. So like I said last night, you don't want to continue building your city lacking, you know, but not paying attention to that residential demand, because if you do, the factories over here would leave the city, or they would get abandoned, and the same thing goes for the commercial zone that you see here. Okay, awesome. Looks like the demand for residential tapered off a little bit. Let's wait for a few minutes here and see if the demand for commercial would taper off a little bit as well once we satisfy the requirement for this commercial zone here. Beautiful. I'd like to see that RCI graph to be as close to being leveled, or basically like to see them pretty leveled, where the red, blue, and green, I think that's orange actually, are pretty close to each other. Looks like we need to build more residential. I'm gonna build them on the edge of the map, I think. Yeah, let's do that. And wait a few minutes. So while we're waiting for those residential zones to get populated, you know what I thought about that was weird is that, you know, we only have about 5,000 people right now. And I realized the game unlocked mass transit, such as buses and taxi cabs, as early as when we only had 3,000 people. When you only have 3,000 people, you don't really need mass transit. You don't have mass transit. You don't really have a lot of people yet. But since this is a game, and I guess they can foresee the difficulties you're going to have as the city grows, they figured they would just unlock some of those items now. So let's play along and go ahead and build the bus depot. The bus depot is pretty noisy, so you don't want to build it anywhere near your residential zone. So let's build it next to our wind turbine here, because that already generates a lot of noise, so adding more, I suppose, can't really hurt too much more. Alright, so the bus depot is necessary before you can build a bus line. The bus depot is where the bus literally comes from. I guess that's where they get parked and get repaired and get stored. So let's think about strategically how we're gonna lay out our bus route. Given that our industry is left and our commercial is right in the middle, do we create a bus route that goes from right to left? I guess that would only make sense, huh? Alright, so let's do that. I'm probably not gonna create a very extensive bus route because it's gonna be really boring watch somebody create a bus route, but we'll make it simple. We'll just create one bus stop for every block. How about that? So that you're not gonna be watching me create a bus route for the next 10 minutes. They're kind of challenging to lay out though, especially with a control pad. I just want the bus route to go straight this way. Interesting. Delete that. Let's start here then. I don't know why the bus route wants to go that way. That is so strange. I want it to go here. Huh. Okay. Start that way. There we go. That's better. It was just on the wrong side of the street. So we want our citizens to go shopping and then be able to go to work. I think we're gonna skip a block. We don't want the bus to have too many stops. Or we could do a figure 8 on the return and kind of complete the whole thing. We'll see how it goes. I don't actually want the bus to travel on that main route. You know what? I would prefer this. That's right. Nah. Yeah, actually that's perfect. Oh wow, that is like the craziest bus route ever. I don't want the bus to go to the main road. Wow. Why is my bus route so jacked up? Alright. Delete this one. I know, that made them all unhappy. Okay, so let's do this then. Force the bus to go there. And there. And then here. Sorry, we're gonna skip a block, it looks like. Wow, why is this super challenging to do? Okay, perfect. Aw, the citizens won't have any bus stop. There we go. We're just gonna make a convoluted bus route there. Sorry for the perfectionists out there who had to witness that. Wow, this really is very crazy. So the reason the bus route is getting confused is that what looks like an intersection on the right side here really isn't. This road is actually not connected to the main road. And I did that on purpose to try to minimize the traffic on the main road there. And I think it's, you know, the algorithm for calculating the bus route, it's not wrong, but it's less than optimal for my city here. It's not the way I want the bus to go, but I don't have a choice, it seems. Is this bus... I guess this bus has to enter the... I don't want the bus to enter the main road. This is my goal there. Because the main road, while it's not being choked right now by traffic, it will be later on as our city grows. So I guess we'll have to skip that neighborhood, sadly. And I'm not trying to hit every single block. That's not really the point here. I mean, I really should, but that's not my goal. It's gonna take too long to lay out. I'm having a hard time plotting these bus stops on a PS4 control pad. And by the way, this is not an optimal bus route. We're just simply having fun, trying to use the mass transit system that is available to us so early in the game, which is the use of buses. Okay, I think we're doing relatively okay. wow, that is... Oh no, the computer wants to go on the main route. Let's cancel this one here. Let's just go ahead and go here. And for the return trip, because you have to connect the bus route back to where it started. Normally I would lay it out very carefully, but for the purposes of our video today, let's just complete it and let the computer decide the route. The computer is actually going to decide to go to the main road, it seems. Looks like that can't be avoided. Nope, I guess we can avoid it by creating a stop there. And then just completing the circle. Oh, wow. Okay, it looks like we really can't avoid this. The computer really wants to go to the main road. Oh, wow, they picked the wrong spot for it to go to. It's gonna go where the choking point is. That is so strange that it would choose to go there. Alright, well, let's go ahead and just complete this bus route. And make our citizens happy. So there, we've got a bus route now. Let's see about creating a taxi cab route. I've actually never created a taxi system in any of the games I ever played. I'm not sure why either. I guess I don't really take taxi myself in real life. So here we'll just... Oh, you have to build an actual taxi stop. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I guess we'll build at the edge of our maps. That way they don't take up any new space. Oh, I wonder if you have to connect... Oh, you have to connect them. It's like creating a subway system. Very interesting. Why would they do it that way? Huh. Alright, I guess we'll connect our city all around with taxi stops. Why not? Why? It's a game anyway. Can I build it here? Oh, I can. Oh. That might be a problem later on, though. I don't know if I want to keep building more taxi stops. Let's just stop right there. Alright. Oh, you don't have to connect them because there's no way... Oh, fascinating. Okay. Well, let's just keep building more taxi stops then. Where else can we build one? Da-da-da-da. I guess we'll just build one here. I'm probably gonna regret the location of these taxi stops later. Because I might need the space for other things later on. I think that's probably good. Alright, well, that's our bus stop systems and taxi stop systems. Computer's still demanding we build more residential. So let's go ahead and continue the expansion of our city to the right side of the map here. Well, let's see. Let's start building out this part now. And before we do that, let's see how we're doing on healthcare. Looks like people are still pretty happy with our healthcare system. Let's make sure our cemetery is not full. Not even close. There's like 0 people who have died. Wow, that's crazy. Let's look at our fire services. Oh, it looks like we could use a fire station down here. Let's do that. Oh crap, I didn't mean to build that there. Well, oh well. I guess we'll leave it. Let's see our police station. Crime rate is pretty low, and we do have 2 existing police stations. Let's go ahead and build a 3rd one. I just like my city nice and safe and crime-free. Let's see how we're doing in education. We're still in the green, so we're pretty good. It is unfortunate that the residentials in this part of the map would have to travel this far just to get their kids educated. But given our current number of population, we don't actually need to build another elementary or high school. So it looks like from a utility standpoint, we're doing pretty good. You know, I should actually just enable this wind turbine since I've already built it. Okay. Hey, Look at that. In general, we have a perfectly happy city, except for one abandoned building over there and one business owner here who's complaining about needing more workers. I'd say we're doing pretty darn good. With that in mind, let us begin the expansion of our city to the other half of the map. Look at that traffic. It's starting to develop already. And it's not going to get better as our city gets bigger. So this is the part that I don't like when you're extending or building out your map, is that since the terrain is not leveled, it like... So if I build out the map at 90 degrees, which is the way I normally build my map, it doesn't look like it's going to be even to the edge of the map. And it not being symmetrical is going to bother me later on. So I think I'm going to go against the math here and just visually lay out the roads this way. It's going to be 2 degrees off. I think I'm going to leave a bit of a margin at the edge of the map there. Maybe I might want to build a monorail system or something like that later on. So I'm going to reserve some space there. So let's do this. A construction cost of 4,600 sounds even and good, so let's do that. So our city may not look straight. Yeah, it's not. Maybe I should have stuck with a 90-degree angle. Alright, so I was wrong about that. Let's stick with a 90-degree angle. Let's keep that margin. There we go. I know that's supposed to be straight, but it just doesn't visually look like it, again, because of the terrain. The terrain kind of slopes down a little bit. Anyway, that's the best we can do. I'm going to measure a cost of 400 build here. And I think that's about 10 tiles. I don't remember. I just need that for a guide. Or I just need that to serve as a guide. Again, 90 degrees. Keep that angle at 90 degrees. So we're not going to want to connect this one, so we'll leave it like that. We might actually keep that road there. Let's try to be symmetrical. How long were these roads? Let's see. Let's measure it. So from here to here is a construction cost of 920. Okay. We're gonna have to measure 920. Let's see. So from here to here, we need the 920 construction cost. There we go. Perfecto. And now we can delete this. That was just used for measuring. Alright, so let's do another 920. Alright, perfect. Let's see, let's do another 920. Perfect. Let's do another 920 if we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can, says Obama. Alright. Let's see if this is a perfect 920. Not even close. I guess we can extend it out to make it a perfect 920. Oh, we were just a tiny bit shy. Now we can delete our guide. We don't need our guides anymore. So that's kind of how you perfectly measure creating a perfect city block. Well, perfect, I'll put that in quotes. There's no such thing as perfect, of course. So let's go ahead and first lay out the pipes. Let's go ahead and extend this all the way across. And remember, again, I'm playing in the PS4, so it's always a challenge to lay out these roads and pipe them as intuitive as when you're using a mouse. But since this game doesn't run very well on my MacBook Pro, I don't have a choice but to play it on the PS4. No, I guess it's not going to perfectly align on the road. I actually want to perfectly align it right there, but looks like it's going to snap either on the left or on the right side. And I think it may have something to do with the terrain being not so even. Alright, so we don't have a choice. Let's just do that. Perfect. We've laid out the pipes now. Now we need to extend the electrical system. So we have power extending to the other side of our map. So let's see what is the best way to do that. Let's see. Well, one kind of a minor cheat way is let's first build a park here. Well, I'm hoping it would extend the range of electricity on the right side, but that looks like that did not happen. And we can just leave that park there for right now. Or oh, it did. Perfect. So that's what I wanted. That's what I was going for. I wanted to extend the power line to our second and brand new part of the city. And it's probably overkill right there, but alright, so let's go ahead and build our residential zone. So I kind of made a less than optimal decision when I built the city earlier on, because I built the residential zone right here close to the main road. If I was being wise about it, I should have built the industrial zone right next to the main road, because that way as the trucks come in and out of the city, they don't have to drive so far into the city, which they would have to do now, to get into the factories and stores and the malls. But on the other hand, it's not all bad, because it forces the vehicles to go further into the city to deliver their goods to the factories and to the mall. It might in the long run free up the main highway, which tends to choke quite a bit as your city develops. So you know what, maybe it was a good bad decision, but let's keep going with that. Let's build our residential zone close to the main highway, and I've never played my game this way before, so this is going to be an interesting experiment slash learning experience. Let's see if it makes a difference in the long run. I think we have a really high demand for residential, so let's go ahead and build some more. Let's start with 2 blocks for right now. You know what, let's just go ahead and just mass build it. 3 blocks. 1 commercial zone, you think would be enough? Yeah, I think so. 1 commercial zone. And then for the industrial zone... oh, they're not being connected by this power line here. Of course not. What I should do is build some residential zones right here, close to the power line. So let's go ahead and zone for some factories right here. Now I tend to not like factories because they pollute so much in terms of noise pollution and ground pollution. So let's go ahead and create a district and turn that factory into something a little bit cleaner. I'd say I would do farming, but this particular land is not really well suited for farming. We don't have any ore or oil. Well, actually we might. So we can see what resources we have by going to the info view and clicking on this gem looking thing. So this yellow part here is actually very suitable for farming, so I should have built my industry here. But just like in real life, once you've zoned the city in a particular way, sometimes you just have to go with the flow. So let's go with the flow and just zone this as a forestry, and let the computer plant trees on its own, much like what we've done here. That actually looks really nice. I like what the computer has done there. It looks like this part of the city has very minimal problem. That's a good starting point for us. And look, we've reached over 5,000 people now. Wasn't even paying attention. So it looks like we might have built a little too much residential too fast, because now the demand for commercial zone is pretty high. So let's go ahead and keep building our city. I'm gonna measure a construction cost of 400. Let's just go ahead and build more commercial zone. Let's double check to make sure that we have water. We do, thankfully. So while we're waiting for that to build up, oh, it looks like we can get rid of the power lines here now. I just like the look of these power lines. You know what I wish they would introduce in this game is an underground power lines. That would be cool. So one way perhaps we can get away with having this power line going across is, one, I typically build landfill in my freeway entrance. I don't know why I do that. But today let's go ahead and build another park. It beautifies the city, and I'm hoping it would connect the left and the right side from a power perspective. I don't know if it actually will, so let's give that a try. Oh, it did. So that's precisely what I was going for, that this park on the left and this park on the right has enough of an electrical radius, I guess, that it actually connected both sides wirelessly. Ah, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Alright, so let's build more residential zone to keep up with the demand here. Again, we're not going to connect this road to the main road here to minimize the traffic on the main road later on when our city becomes much larger and much more developed. So we're building this second half of our city a little bit faster than the way we built the first half there, the left side there. Only because I want to hit a 10,000 population by the end of this video. And I actually didn't keep track of when we started streaming, so I don't know when my hour is going to be up. Well, it's okay. Let's go ahead and prepare to lay out more pipes in preparation for our city's soon-to-be booming expansion. Looks like we're actually still pretty good. Let's lay out another set of streets. No, we're getting stuck at 89 degrees, 90 degrees, perfect. Alright, let's see. So it's creating a perfect grid for your city, the perfect way to create a city? The answer is actually no. But it is the most efficient in terms of trying to fit more population per a given piece of land. This is actually why traditional city builders like the United States tend to build their cities in perfect grids. Not the most beautiful, but it is very functional. I'm so anal. I'm trying to like perfectly get this water tube to perfectly align to the road, but it seems to not want to do that, so we're not gonna force it. Let's see how we're doing. Supply, we're doing good. How about our electrical supply? Oh, we're pretty low on power. So let's go ahead and build another highly polluting power plant. That is an oil power plant. That is the one thing I'm looking forward to as far as advancing technology, is that we can build less polluting sources of power. Oh, sorry, this guy's like just leveled up and I'm about to demolish it. Sorry guy, need more power for our city. Oh, trash is gonna be a problem pretty soon because the landfill is probably full as I expected. So that is why we created some margin on our map here, so we can build things as they come up, like more landfills. So I don't know, what's the best way do you think is to build it? I think this way. There really was no best way to build that landfill. It's just, put it there. Computer's still demanding more commercial zone. That's pretty interesting. I should have just zoned this as a commercial zone, in fact. And you know what? We can. So that's one thing you need to learn when you're playing City Skyline is you have to prepare to zone or de-zone some of your city blocks sometimes to, one, to rebalance your city, and two, to just meet the demands of your city. And being the mayor of the city, you are in charge of how you meet that demand. So just because you previously zoned something to be a residential zone in this case doesn't mean it has to forever stay as a residential zone. Sometimes you just want to balance things out. So I can see the trash is becoming a problem in my city. I might need to build another landfill, actually. That way the left side and the right side of the map have their own set of garbage collection utility trucks that's servicing them. That is in fact one of the downside to expanding your city as slow as I did, is that you don't get the incinerator, garbage incinerator early enough. So normally when I play this game, I tend to expand my city as fast as possible so that I can unlock some of those technologies like garbage incinerators and the cremation plant where you can, sorry to say, incinerate the dead so you can cremate them, so that you don't have to keep building landfills and cemeteries. So that's a tip for you if you didn't know. Once you're able to build the garbage incinerator and the crematory or cremation building, you can stop building landfills and stop building cemeteries. And you can take that a step further and actually you can empty out your landfills and your cemetery, and then once they're emptied out you can actually bulldoze and destroy them altogether so they don't even exist on your map. And if you don't know how to empty out your landfill or crematory, basically you select one and then you select this box looking icon and you tell it to empty out your garbage, your landfill, and your cemetery. Alright, so we've expanded our city a little too fast than I would normally do it, because now when I look at the RCI graph, they're approaching pretty empty, which is a state I don't like to be in, because that means there's no demand for residential, commercial, or industrial zone in our city, which means we've overbuilt. So you don't ever really want to overbuild like that. I'm not saying it's bad necessarily, but it's just not my playstyle. We're reserving a couple of these blocks for our industrial zone. And we'll actually, while we're waiting for things to just build out, let's go ahead and extend our forestry district here. Because we're just gonna build forestries. I like forestries because they create such pretty trees. See, look at that. Versus highly polluting, normal industrial zone. So playing the PS4, I tend to turn on the weather. I've actually turned off the night-day cycle, just because I can't build during the night. It's kind of hard to see, which makes perfect sense. Just like in real life, it's hard to build at night. But during the day, I do find the rain kind of cool. That it makes the road shimmer. I don't know why. I just think that's cool. So I just noticed a problem. There's a fire there, and in this half of the city we haven't built a fire department. So, oops, let's build one now. Let's also build a police department. Oh, what did I build just now, by the way? Okay, let's go ahead and build a police station, as well as a clinic. Oh, not a clinic. And we do need to build a cemetery. And cemeteries tend to make people happy. I'm gonna build it right here to where the residential zone is, but I usually end up regretting that. Maybe we'll just build a cemetery right at the margin here. I mean, that is after all why we have it there. This may sound kind of mean or rude, but I'm so tempted to build a cemetery right next to the landfill. I know that sounds terrible, but this is just a video game, right? Oh, you know what? I can't live with that in my conscience. Let's just leave. Let's just put it where the residential zones are at. Alright, so it looks like the demand for residential has increased, and that's due to the fact that there are jobs in our city. And you can tell that we have too much or too many jobs because there's very low demand for industry as well as very low demand for commercial. So let's go ahead and build one more set of streets here because we need to build more residential. At this point, I'm tempted to build high density residentials, and here's why. That's the reason why the demand for residential zones haven't tapered off, is because in a way the computer's kind of telling me / forcing me to build high density residentials. So then you're asking, why don't I? Here's the problem. When you build high density residentials and high density commercial zones, high density industrial zones, actually you can't build high density industrial zones, but high density commercial zones and high density residential zones, that they pollute more, they also generate more trash. And given that I don't have a garbage incinerator yet, I don't actually want my city to generate more trash right now because I'm going to end up building more landfill. So one way to combat the trash problem early on, especially when you expand your city so fast early on by building high density residential and high density commercial, is that garbage becomes a problem. So you end up building a whole lot more landfills because you need more garbage trucks to service your city. So I think by the time we actually exhaust this map, I may end up converting some of our residential zones into high densities, or we could just expand to another map and just keep this original map as it is. So, but we'll see how it goes once we reach that point. So there's a high demand, not a high demand, there's a medium demand for commercial zones. So let's go ahead and build one more block of it, because if you don't, unemployment will rise and people will move out of your city. Let's go ahead and prepare the next city block for expansion, because sooner or later we will have to expand to this part of the map. Again, we're not going to connect this to the main road on purpose to minimize the traffic on the main road. I think our city's off to a good start. There's not too many problems on this left side where we started yesterday. So this is the broadcast, and we're building out the city on this side. Let's see how we're doing education-wise, because that's something that most people tend to neglect as they develop their city. Let's go ahead and build. So schools generate a lot of traffic, so you don't want to build it right next to the main road or any future potential choking point. So I would say, what do you think? Let's see, we'll build it right here. I'm trying to figure out whether I should build it on top of a residential zone or on top of a commercial zone. Let's just build it on top of the residential zone, actually. Let's build our high school here, I guess. Yep. Wait, we don't even need a high school right now. Okay, I think we're okay for our schools right now. Alright, so there's not really a great high demand for anything other than residential, so let's lay out some pipes and construct more residential zones. You know what, let's just connect it to the other end. So later on we're gonna end up building on that middle section, and let's just not have I'd like to not have to worry about the water part later on. Okay, so we just zoned 2 blocks of residential zones there. Let's just stay with that for right now and see how the demand for the zones update. So looks like we're getting some things abandoned here. We may not be getting enough workers to service our forestry district here. Let's see what our next milestones are at. It's 8,500 people, and it will unlock... Oh, it'll unlock the monorail. I like building the monorail. And trains too. Looks like our initial map actually has no train connection, so we won't be able to use that. But the monorail, I do like that. We may build it once we are able to unlock it. I'm a sucker for a monorail. So just in case you didn't know, the monorail is... it's part of the mass transit DLC. There we go. We just... What had just happened? I thought we reached the next milestone, but we didn't. So we reached 6,500. That wasn't exactly a milestone. Actually, it was. What did it unlock? Some new policies. Oh, that's high density stuff, I suppose. High density taxes. Yep, it did unlock the high density zones. So as I was saying earlier, unless you really want to have a garbage problem, I would highly recommend to not switch to high density zones so early in the game. Because if you do, those high density zones will generate more garbage, and then you'll run into garbage problems quite early in the game, which is something I'd rather not deal with. So garbage wise, we're doing pretty good. The landfills are only 40% filled. As you can see, we have no incinerator yet, sadly. Oh wait, we do. Oh, perfect. Now we can build incinerators. So incinerators are highly polluting structures. Oh, that's perfect that we can build incinerators now. So we're gonna empty out this landfill by clicking on that box looking icon there. So that's going to force the this landfill to be emptied out. I believe the trucks actually take them to the incinerators, so the garbage are incinerated. Now sadly, and by the way, in case you didn't know, incinerators cost quite a bit to maintain, so it's no joke building them. If you notice, my income went from 7-something thousand to 5,000. It's because I built 2 incinerators just now. But I kind of see it as a necessary evil. I don't like having landfills because you have to keep building them for all of eternity in this game. Incinerators really is the way to go, but it has a very high upkeep of almost 1,500, really 1,400 a week. That's pretty steep. That's actually quite steep. We're gonna build 2 right now. So basically, I just invested $6,000 I guess, every week to my garbage disposal. Not quite a problem yet, but future problem. Call it an investment in the future. We're gonna try to empty out this landfill here that's already 100% full, because it's useless now at this point. Let's go ahead and empty that out. So that's what that icon means. It means the landfill is being emptied out. It's funny because from a distance it looks kind of like an arm, but... Alright, well, let's continue expanding our city. Looks like some of our buildings are getting upgraded. That's good, that's good. Let's examine that building. That's level 2, nice. So, it's saying that for this building to level, we need more educated people. So that's something that just takes time. Just have to ensure that your education is keeping up with your population. And it looks like it is. So at this point, let's listen to what the computer is demanding and build more residential zones. Alright, so let's zone for more residential zones. Alright, there we go. Why is it so hard to hit a 400 construction cost? There we go. Again, we're not going to connect this to the main road to avoid choking up the main road later on. Although given that these are all low capacity zones, oh, we can build office zones now. So as your population age, you actually want to build office zones, because I'm sorry to stereotype this, but it's for the normal commercial zones. That's kind of where the young people, teenagers, young adults work. Basically, they're, you know, your McDonald's and Burger Kings and malls. But as your population age, you want them to have a high-paying jobs plural, and the only way to achieve that is by zoning office zones. So ultimately, later on, as you build your newer city blocks or newer part of your map, you want to have significantly more office zones than you do commercial zones, because your population will age, and you want to make that shift to higher paying jobs. Again, for two reasons. Because one, your population will age, so the balance between the young and the old will shift as your city ages. So you want to rebalance your way of constructing commercial zones to not just build the original commercial zones, both the high and low densities, but also you need to start building a whole lot of office zones, because that's where your older population will want to work for. You don't want somebody who's 40, 50 years old working at malls and McDonald's, and I'm not saying that in a bad or mean way, but most people are going to want higher paying white collar jobs in high-rise buildings. So just keep that in mind as your city grows. So it looks like we need to build more residential zones. You know what? So there's such a high demand for it. Let's just build 3 blocks. So our office zones are not being occupied yet, and let's see why that is. So our unemployment rate is at 4%. That's pretty good. Let's see, we had 20% of our population are teens, with 16% being young adults. There are actually 34% adults, so I'm hoping that the office zones will get built up. If not, we can de-zone it and just build normal commercial zones. Maybe we're still too young in our city's development to actually need office buildings. We'll see, we'll see. Let's wait a few minutes before we change our strategy there. So one thing you'll notice, there's already a great imbalance in our city, is that at least the way it's developing so far, on the right side of our city there's a massive amount of residential, and if you notice on the RCI graph, there's really no demand for new industries, and that's because most of our industries is on the left side of the map. So what does that tell you? Well, if we look at traffic, that's exactly what I predicted. If we look at traffic, people are commuting from the left side of the map to the right in order to get to their jobs. And that's to be expected. Oh, look at this part here. So maybe what we should do is connect the left and the right side for the first time. Are they even connected right now? Nope. Other than here, they're not. So we're gonna make an executive decision to bridge the left and the right side of the map here, in the hopes that it would alleviate some of the traffic up here. I mean, it never really will go away because this is the entry point to your city. I have never seen a big city where the entry point to the city is not a choking point, but we just want to alleviate that. And remember when I created that bus route, and I just hated how it would have to go here. See, there's that bus right there. So that bus is just adding to the traffic. I might ultimately end up scrapping that bus route and redoing it, but let's wait, maybe later in the game. So we're very... Oh, look, the office buildings are finally getting developed. I like that. So again, this is where you're hoping the bulk of your adult population will ultimately end up working. You know, and one good thing about offices is that they don't generate office buildings or office zones. They don't generate too much noise. So they serve as a perfect buffer between the residential zones and the commercial zones. as well as the residential zones, you know, to buffer them away from the industrial zone. So just remember that office zones are good buffers for both noise and ground pollution. So as your city develops and you end up building more high density residential zones, to shield them away from the commercial and industrial zones by building office zones in between them. Alright, looks like the demand for residential is just skyrocketing. Wow, people must be really liking our city. I don't know why, but alright, let's keep building more residential zones. And if you haven't played City Skylines long enough, most games like these start out really, really well until your population explodes, and then you'll start running into traffic problems, trash problems. So hopefully we build our city slow and methodical enough that we won't run into too much of those later on as our city matures, but that is yet to be seen, so let's just keep building for right now. Let's look at our pipes to make sure, oops, our new city blocks won't have enough water. We forgot to lay out pipes, so let's do that now. Let's just leave that like that for right now. Beautiful. I love how those office zones are building up, so let's go ahead and build some more. Oh, that's our first problem right there. Right there. See that flashing icon? What does that mean? It means not enough customers. So basically what's happening is we built all these commercial zones and there's not enough people buying them. That just basically means I hadn't kept up with building up residential zones fast enough, which I think we have now for the first time, because the demand for residential has significantly tapered off. The demand for commercial is still quite high though, so I'm tempted to build your traditional commercial zones. We'll see, we'll see. But I don't want to do that, because if you have a commercial zone saying there's not enough customers, well, why would I want to build more of that? And the answer is I don't. What I'm actually tempted to build are actually offices in this side of the map. I'll think about that. So this is what's going to happen as your city develops. You're going to start to have a little bit more problems here and there, and they'll begin to add up. Oh, look at that happy, sunny looking icon right there. That icon means this landfill is empty, which means we can demolish it now. Yay! Which I'm going to. Don't like having landfills. So we're going to relocate this incinerator here. Actually, you know what? Let's relocate this one instead. So here's the problem. Incinerators are highly polluting buildings, and notice how the ground is starting to turn kind of not green. It looks dead. And that's just sucks. That's just the way it works in the game. Let's go ahead and relocate this. And so one way I've dealt with that in the past is by putting trees around it. Let's put some bushes or something. I don't know. If you put down small beech, you can kind of cosmetically cover that up. Do be careful when you put the other type of trees like pine and oak and whatever. They tend to catch on fire. So I don't know if a small beech will catch on fire, but do be careful that when you put trees around buildings, trees will catch fire, and then the building ends up catching on fire as well. And your fire department might save your building, but at the time when your building is on fire, it's not performing its services, so you will have service interruption, so keep that in mind. Wow, there's a big demand for residential again, so let's go ahead and build some more residential zones. Let's see. Are we doing something right? Why do people want to move into our city? For whatever reason, I'm happy that they want to move into our city. This is the YouTube city, after all. Alright, let's do that. Again, purposely trying to not connect that to the main road to hopefully avoid traffic later on. Although I seriously doubt traffic will actually become a problem on the main road anyway, since so far we've only built low zones, low residential and low commercial zones. Yeah, so if we look at traffic, it's pretty light right now, relatively speaking. Look at our traffic flow on the graph there. It's 93%, so we're doing pretty good. And again, most small cities start out pretty good. Hey, so when we before we created this middle junction here, this was highly traffic, and now it's not so bad. So that did help. We should probably create another junction, actually. Let's see here. So let's be systematic here. How many streets? 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one is when we create it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one, so it's this one. Alright, so in this case we're gonna want to connect these streets onto the main road, but it won't let us. Really? Why is that? Huh, that is weird. Okay, little bug there, I suppose. Alright, so let's build more residential zones. Again, we're just building low residential zones on purpose, even though high residential zones are already available to us this early in the game. Again, to avoid traffic problems early in our city, and also to avoid garbage problems this early of a life in our city. Let's go ahead and build one more block of residential zone here. Wow, I really like how our city's developing so far. We've got new office zones here, so we got office buildings so that our adults can get higher paying jobs and they don't get stuck working at Burger King and McDonald's and malls as they normally would be if you just kept building your traditional commercial zones. So maybe there's actually a big demand for office zones, so I should probably, oh, we just reached a milestone there and I accidentally canceled out of it. Yes, so we are now considered a small city with a population of 8,500 and growing, and we can build monorails now. Sweet. And trains, but we don't have any connecting train lines to the outside world. Cool. Look at all the new stuff we can build. We can build hydropower plants. Nice. Can I actually build one? Oh, I might be able to. That is something worth exploring. Let us see if we can build a hydropower plant. It doesn't look like we're gonna get much power out of it because the steep here is not very high. 304 megawatts. That's not too bad. Let's see. I wonder if we can get even better power generation than that here. Nope. Nope. 64 megawatts. That's not very good. 352. That's pretty good. 368, 384, but it's too steep. 320. Let's start here at the edge. What do we get? 304. I think that's a good compromise. A small little dam and we get 304 watts of clean power. Let's try to strategically position this dam so it takes up the least amount of space but giving us the most energy. Wow, it's funny how it varies so much depending on the terrain that you start and end with. 224, 320. Oh, you can't. The slope is too steep. Let's see. Oh, 304. That's pretty good. 320. That's pretty good. 320. Let's go with that. All right. Hey, so now we're generating electricity. Now we need to connect that to the rest of our power grid. And I'm just going to do that by creating a power line that touches that blue radius to this blue radius here. There you go. Yay, so now we're generating clean power. Oh, look at that dam. It's starting to work. Like it's holding back that water. It's probably gonna spill. Oh, look at that. It's overflowing. Oh, so exciting. Our very first dam. One of the things I like about this game is the way they model the water. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's just so pretty to look at and observe. So you can see the dam is pushing back the water. In some of the games that I played, it actually ended up flooding the city temporarily until the dam is able to release more water. But it's pretty cool how it can, how the developers have modeled the water. You can see the water is being pushed back, and it's creating a reservoir. So if you had built a city at the edge of that tip over there, it would probably be underwater right now. And it looks like, yep, it is. It's flooding back there. This may not have been a good spot to build a dam, because I think you have 2 points of sources of water coming into a single point. So let's see if we're going to keep this dam permanently, or we may end up demolishing it, because I think we may end up flooding our city in the end. If you look over there, the water is starting to rise beyond the coast. If that keeps rising, it might spill over to our own city. But we'll see. Sometimes the water has a way of settling down. Oh wow, look at that. The water has completely dried out. That is not what I'm expecting when I build a dam. So I don't know what the computer is doing right now. I'm hoping the dam would release some water here. Wow, that is crazy. I have never seen the water dry up. No, that's not good. That could affect our water supply. Oh yes, it will. Oh, look at the pollution that's being generated by the I might have to demolish this dam, because look what's gonna happen. It's gonna dry out the water here too. Oh, that's not good for our city. Wow, I have never seen a dam like completely block out the water. What happened to this dam? This dam is crazy. You might have to demolish it. It's not generating any power, and it's just holding the water. Wow, that's never happened before. Have you ever seen your water supply completely dry out? I certainly have not. So we're gonna demolish this, because this is probably a bug in the game. Oh, let's see that water rush. Whoa, look at that. That is so cool. It's like you don't want to be at the bottom of this valley here when that water comes rushing in. Wow, look at that. That is so cool. I have never seen this in the game, actually. The water. It's rushing back to fill the gap. That's crazy. Wow. Well, that was worth it building the dam just to see that. It's kind of cool to see it refill the gap. Anyway, if you look at our city, you look at our RCI graph, we're doing pretty good. It's pretty balanced. One bad thing is we're losing population every week though. So I don't know if we've finally hit our first death wave, which will happen eventually. It hasn't happened yet. Oh, we can buy land now. Sweet. Oh no, it's gonna flood parts of my city. No, 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 no. Don't flood parts of my city. No, 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 no. Oh wow, I never noticed there's a sunken boat underneath underneath the water. That is so cool. Oh no, that was probably a boat that sank because there was no water because we created the dam. Oops. I hate to say this, but we might have killed some people that was on that boat. Oh no, you can see our city's being flooded. No. Oh good, just minor flooding. It didn't really spread to the rest of the city. So you don't really want your city to get flooded, because if you have services, city services that gets touched by the flood, some of them will stop working while they're flooded, which of course makes sense. Oh no, we're getting people who are sick because of the flood. No, because flood's dirty water. Oh no, so our population actually got sick from that. Oh, because the water that we're... Oh no. Oh, so here's what happened. Wow, this is bad. Let me slow down the game. Because the water started going the opposite direction, the water that used to go from right to left started going from left to right. Now that is really bad. We need to change our water supply. So we're getting fresh water again. We're just gonna have to temporarily do it here. Because our population is getting sick, because now they're drinking sewage water. Oops. That was a really bad experiment of us building that dam. Well, lesson learned, right? I didn't know that dam would hold back the water that way. And then not generate any electricity. So we gotta turn off our water pumps here. Yes, if you look at what happened, the drain water started running towards where we pump fresh water. So that's why our entire population is getting sick. Alright, looks like their sickness mostly went away. Perfect. That was a minor crisis there. Luckily it was easily solved. And the question is, did this forever alter the flow of water on our... Looks like the answer is no. It looks like it's reverting back to the way it was. So here we go. Looks like fresh water is rushing back into the way it used to. So hopefully it will push that pollution back to the north side of my map. We're hoping, right? Alright, well, let's continue building our... Oh, there goes our first death wave. So I don't know if our first death wave is a result of our population getting temporarily sick, or maybe this was just the timing for it. So this happens in city skylines every few years. A vast number of people in your city will begin to die. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I'm not saying death is a good thing either. It's just the circle of life. You have 11% of the population are seniors, so ultimately your population gets old, and with age comes death, and so that's kind of the way the game works. So there's really nothing you can do to prevent this. Whether your city is big or small, you will encounter what everyone calls the death wave. If you wanted to go away faster, what you're really seeing is that there's a lot of houses with dead people. I know, that sounds so spooky. If you want that to go away faster, one way you can do it is by going to your economy, changing your budget, going to the healthcare, and just temporarily bump that up to 150%. What that would do, if you read the description, is the healthcare provides budget not just for healthcare needs like ambulances, but also hearses. And hearses are what carries dead people to the cemetery. So let's go ahead and... So normally I kind of try to wait out the death wave before building more. But given that our city is still pretty small, I think it might be relatively safe to go ahead and just keep building, because ultimately we're going to want to grow. So we want to build more residential zones. Again, we're not trying to connect this to the main road in order to avoid traffic on the main road. The terrain's not even, so we're building at 90 degrees. Yep, that's just the way it is. It's not even. Wow, look at that RCI graph. That's like, to me, that's like the perfect city where the demand for residential, commercial, and industrial are pretty even. So that means, so far, at this point in time, we have a pretty even city as far as the number of residential, commercial, industrial zones that we've created. That's something pretty hard to achieve as your city gets bigger, to have that kind of balance. Alright, let's see our water pipes. Looks like we need to extend our water pipes to cover our new city blocks that we just created. You know, I'm trying to be perfect about these, laying out these pipes, but with the terrain not being even, you can't really get too perfect. So let's build more offices. We do have more aging people in our population, and they need high-paying jobs. We all can't work in malls, after all. Computers still... see, notice the death wave, it's pretty much over, on at least on the right side of the map. Did we not build a cemetery on the left side of the map? That might be the reason why, actually. No, we built one. It's right there. Apparently the hearses on the right side of the map is more efficient than the hearses on the left side of the map. There's a lot of dead people there. Okay, so now that the water flow has returned back to normal, I think we might be able to turn on those freshwater pumps now. Not sure yet, no. Did we forever pollute the water system? We didn't, did we? No, we didn't. Oh, we kinda did in this part. That sucks. So, looks like we may not be able to turn on this water pumps for quite a while. Well, we have an empty piece of plot of land there. Maybe we can just move it. So I would hate to have to demolish those perfectly working water pumps. But because of our dam goof, and I mean that as water dam goof, the pollution went the opposite direction against the water flow here. That's too unfortunate. I hope it doesn't keep going this way. So anyway, we want to make use of these water pumps at some point, so we'll just have to relocate them. Maybe we'll relocate them here. There's gonna be no power to power them. What we can do is move the windmill to power them. That's probably good. Yeah, I'm afraid we polluted the water area where our fresh water was coming from. I'm hoping the water current will just push the dirty water away from the city at some point, but that's okay. So the reason I want to move these water pumps is, if you notice here, there's this one guy that's very unhappy with us right now. They're actually getting sick because of the noise pollution. So we want to save that guy from misery. Because we're a good mayor like that. We want to make sure every citizen is happy if we can. If it's within our powers. So we're gonna move this. Instead of demolishing it, we're gonna move this here. We're probably not gonna turn it on right now, but we'll use that for future use. Move this guy here as well. So we're just gonna turn this off, save a little bit of money every week. So we'll just use those for future expansion. Which actually, we should probably turn on one of them right now. And build one more sewage pump. Looks like we already need to expand our water treatment facility. Let's see our sewage treatment capacity go up. Once that goes online, perfect. Alright. The city's looking pretty decent right now. No major problems. No traffic problems yet. Although we see quite a bit of orange there, but that's not a big deal. A part of that is because we have so many streets. I thought about demolishing some of the streets for the commercial zones, which we probably should. That will alleviate some of that traffic, but given that it's pretty minor right now, I will leave it as is. So finally, there's a growing demand for more industry. So let's go ahead and zone one more block here. I'm trying to balance it out so that not all the industries on the left side of the map. I want to have some on the right side of the map, so that our citizens don't have to cross the middle divide here in order to get from the left to the right side of the map, or vice versa. So let's build more commercial zones, and this time we're exclusively focusing on building office buildings or office zones. Again, it's because we want the older people in our population to work in buildings where they get higher paying jobs with benefits. Looks like we've reached the end of the map. As I was saying earlier, as your population ages, you do want to build more office zones. So you really want to focus away from building normal commercial zones and steer towards office zones. Let's go ahead and build one more residential zone. So part of my strategy as I build a city is to, if you look at the RCI graph, is try to maintain those as level as possible. When I say level, that there is about an even number of demand for residential, commercial, and industrial zone. It's not always going to be achievable. Like right now, there's a high demand for commercial zones, which the computer does not distinguish between just normal commercial zones or office zones. So right now, let's just build more office zones. There's still a pretty healthy demand for in this industrial zone, so let's build one more. Let's ensure that our industrial zone is in forestry and not the normal highly polluting industry zone. I think we might need more commercial zones. We're gonna zone an office zone here. And zoning an office zone versus a normal commercial zone, I think really is more of a preference in a way, because I mean, you could get away with just zoning normal commercial zones and never build an office zone. I mean, I played games that way as well. But for variety's sake, hey, why not? Why not zone office zones? That's why it's in the game, right? Looks like we might have overbuilt a little too much of industry there. You can notice the demand for industry just went down significantly, and this is not even being fielded with workers yet. So that's how you know you overbuilt things. So that's okay. We'll just leave that the way it is for right now. So to offset that, simply zone more residential zones, because people will move into your city and they're gonna want jobs, and guess what? They're gonna want to work in your industrial zone. The demand for a commercial zone didn't really taper off, surprisingly. But hey, those office zones keeps rising. They keep building up, so people must want jobs that are white collar in my city. Speaking of which, let's look at our city policies. Whoa, so the next milestone is actually 14,000. We're a long way from that. We're probably not even going to achieve that in this video. Let's look at our city policies. Let's see what are some of the things we can do. Generally, when I play this game, I like to turn on the smoke detector distribution. I may not turn that on right now. Fire hasn't been a big problem in our city. I generally do ban pets in my city so that they would generate less trash, but trash hasn't been a problem for our city. So we'll be a pet-friendly city for right now and leave that policy turned off. Smoking ban. Now this is just a personal preference. I like to ban smoking. And the reason for that is I just want my people to be healthier. Now here's something of a personal nature as well. Recreational use. They're talking about marijuana here in particular. Whether to allow it or not allow it. If you look at the description, it increases tax income, it increases tourism, slightly reduces crime rate, but it increases your police budget. given that crime hasn't really been a problem in my city because most of my population is educated, we're gonna turn on recreational use. From a personal standpoint, I'm not really against marijuana. I don't consume it. It's not my thing, but I have nothing against it. But hey, for our city, whatever generates more income, right? We want that. Wow, I just sounded like your typical, normal, greedy mayor of a city. I just want more income for my city, but that's just the way life works. You want more income. Now that was interesting to see. There was a citizen that was complaining there, that was getting sick. That's something we want to pay attention to because this residential zone is very close to the highway. So what happens is when you have houses that are very close to high traffic areas, they get sick in terms of the noise pollution. So I'm very happy to see that icon because that means we can demolish yet another landfill. It means we've successfully emptied this landfill. So we can demolish that and put back your normal high polluting industrial zone, I guess. Gotta rezone it. There we go. So the next thing we're gonna do is empty out this landfill. Oh wow, there's still a very significant demand for commercial zones. I'm gonna keep building offices until it makes no sense anymore. So if you can kind of see, there's an imbalance on the left and the right side of our city. The left side is low residential, low commercial, and forestry. On the right side, lots of residential. But then we started building offices. So what does that mean? I don't know. Does that mean this is going to be the middle income part of our map? I wonder if there's a way to tell income in this game. No, not really. Land value. Oh, you know, that's one thing we forgot to build in the right side of our city. We forgot to build parks. Silly us. So we do want to build parks because we want to slowly but surely increase the land value of our city. It doesn't increase the land value of your city overnight, but it will increase it over time. Plus, I love seeing those happy faces as you build a new park. And who hates parks? Everyone loves parks. Unless you're a kid that gets bullied in parks, in which case you probably would hate parks. Cool. Yeah, I don't know why our city has such a high demand for commercial zone. I'm almost tempted to build more commercial zones, but I think we're doing okay. I think I'm gonna keep building office zones until what? Until I don't know. Until it makes no sense anymore. How about that? Let's just keep building our city roads because we're gonna expand to this part of our map anyway. I love how my RCI graph is pretty even. I love that. Because that's what we want mostly. I think I'm going to extend, let's build residential zones right here. Right here. Because I want to extend the office zone to go right here. I know that kind of breaks our perfect little grid pattern there, but nothing in life stays perfect, right? One more block. One more city block. So now I have to decide which of these streets I should connect to the main road. Let's count again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth one. So it should be this road. So we're going to do a 90 degrees if we can. 90 degrees. Perfect. Oh, wow. Interesting. I'm just looking at the road and how they don't perfectly align. That's why I said, oh, wow. It's because of the terrain. The terrain's not even. I know that looks weird. It's not even, but the terrain is not even. Oh, water. Some of our citizens have no water. Silly us. Bad mayor, bad. There we go, perfect. That's our office buildings too. We want to develop our office buildings. Wow, look at the RCI graph. A near perfect demand for residential, commercial, and industry. So let's satisfy that a little bit. Let's go ahead and build our next... Let's zone for the next industrial zone there. So we zone for one. Let's zone for one more office zone right here. Oop, but that's not going to get populated very easily because we need power. Let's give them power. I think I want this to be an office zone as well. Oopsie. That's okay. I'm actually quite surprised we're doing pretty good here. We have over 10,000 people with very little problem that I can see right now. No flashing icon of any kind. That's unusual. But, you know, our city is very small, so right now our problems are also very small. As you will soon see in the coming days as we develop this city, our problem will multiply by quite a bit. So let's look at, I see there's a fire there and there's a garbage problem. Let's look at fire first. It's very important to address fire in your city because you don't want your cities to burn. What happens is when your city, or rather you don't want your buildings to burn. What happens is when your city burns, your building, when your building burns, is that, say you have a building that's level 3, if it burns and it gets rebuilt, it becomes a level 1 building again. So you don't really want that. You want your buildings to remain as high of a level as possible because they generate more income for your city. In other words, it's good for the bottom line to have fire departments. So let's look at our trash problem as to why we're having trash problems. Our incinerator capacity is pretty good. We have 2 here. We also have 2 here. So it's just a matter of traffic. Oh, yep, look at that, it went away. Which is a matter of maybe the garbage truck hadn't... oh, because that's a busier area. Okay. So sometimes you'll see that. You'll see temporary flashing icons for something, whether that's trash or whatever. And it's just that temporary. The garbage truck just hasn't passed through that street yet because it's traffic. And that's why it's very important to deal with traffic. You don't want to ignore traffic. Because when you have traffic in your city, that problem will spill all across in other areas like garbage. Looks like we're near to maxing out this portion of the map. There's still a great demand for commercial zones. And I am going to keep building offices because I like offices. We are off to a good start. Still pretty far away for the to that milestone of 14,000 people, though. I'm thinking or hoping that if we just run the game long enough, since we're getting 105 people every week, this might be sufficient enough to reach the next milestone of 14,000 people. In which case, what would we unlock at 14,000? Whoopsie. Milestone, not policies. So we would unlock the crematorium, which is, I absolutely want that, so I can stop building cemeteries. And water treatment plants, I also absolutely want that because I want to stop building these sewage drain pipes, which just dumps dirty water, raw sewage into the water. I want to build a water treatment that treats the water first before dumping it into the water system. I know it doesn't matter because this is just a simulation, but I grew up in San Francisco and I care for the environment. So it looks like our city is developing. So while we're waiting to hopefully reach 14,000, I don't know if we actually will. Let's go ahead and build a monorail. Ooh, so exciting. I like building monorails. Let's see. Where can we build it though? So we'll just build it for fun. We may not keep this long term. Or we might, who knows. So there is a reason why I reserve this. Uh-oh, we have one citizen that has no water. Sorry, every citizen counts. We gotta fix that problem first before we do anything else. That's what a good mayor does, right? We care for every citizen. No one voice is too small. You know what? I'm just gonna connect this middle part so that it has water as well. I know, it makes things not very symmetrical now. I could just run a pipe going like right at the center of this to make it somewhat symmetrical. Let's do that. We're all about symmetry in this asymmetrically... I mean, this map is not symmetrical, so why are we trying to build things symmetrically? I don't know. Human nature. We want to make things difficult for ourselves. That's what we like, right? There we go. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to delete these pipes. Sorry. Very anal. They're just extra pipes that's not needed. I guess I can live with that imperfection there. Or can I? Uh-oh, we created a little gap there. Let's, there we go, close that gap. Alright, so finally, let's go back and build a monorail. So the monorail has a range, as you can see. So interesting. Can't build it in the center. You know what? We have more people on this side. Oh, I feel like a bad mayor. I'm favoring the side of my city that's the middle class, where it's got more population and people who work in office buildings. I will never be judgmental towards a mayor ever again. So let's start with just 3 monorail stations. Let's see if we can get it to work. So you gotta, as you just saw me do, lay down some monorail stations. Then lay down some tracks. That's what I was afraid of. That this road might be too wide. Oh, it is. You know what? There's a solution for that. Since these roads are not heavily trafficked right now, not really. We're gonna downgrade them. Oh, that's terrible. I'm gonna downgrade the roads. Might end up regretting that later. But that's okay. It's just a game. So we're gonna have to downgrade these. Just so we can get the monorail rails to go across it. So we know that worked, but is that the only way to get this to work? What if we elevate the monorail tracks? Oh, that does work. I didn't have to demolish the road. Or downgrade the road. Silly me. Oh, that's interesting. I can't connect it though. Huh. So let's bring it down. Slope too steep. Really? Okay. Oh, okay, that's a better solution. So let's undo what we did there. Let's actually pause the game because I don't know. Well, let's not. Okay, so let's undo that. We gotta rebuild the road again though, because we do want our main highways to be higher capacity lanes, because we're preparing for the future. We're expecting I'm like thinking, we're preparing for a future that may never come. We're expecting that these intersections will be higher traffic intersections later on. That's why we want to keep them as 4-lane roads. But we don't really know if it will become a very busy intersection later on. We're just speculating, of course. Perfect. I love it when things connect. Not so perfect. Let's demolish this. Oopsie. Go up. Slope down so I can connect. Can I just connect like that? Perfect. Ah, look at that. We're starting to develop our very own monorail system. We're just gonna start out with 3 stops. It's probably not gonna make any money actually, but it's just for illustration purposes, guys. So now that we've laid out the tracks, now we gotta create a line. A monorail quote-quote line. You know what would be so cool is to actually just build like 6 monorail stations. Oh no, let's just start with 3. So you create a starting point, you add a stop, you add another stop, and then you have to create a loop, so you gotta go back. Look at those happy faces as we add monorail stops. Yay! And here's my favorite part. You actually get to see the monorail somewhere. Where did it start? Did it start on the other side? Oh, it started on the other side. Oh, this is why I like the Mass Transit DLC, because I like seeing the monorails. Woo! So cool. Ah, it's just that feeling of accomplishment. I created that for my citizens, so they can commute. And you know what we haven't done? When we started this broadcast, we built bus routes here on the left side, and we haven't done down the right side. This is actually a perfectly good starting city. I don't see any major problem in the city. That's actually really good. You know, I'm gonna rename Belmont District to be just forestry. Let's see if I got my keyboard here in front of me. You know, I can't remember whether forestry is spelled with 2 R or 1 R. Let's just go with 1 for now until somebody corrects me. Let's go ahead and be anal about things and just correct the district here. Oopsie, I made it even worse. Since this is not really an industrial zone, let's shrink that. So that the forestry is truly just that area that we see. That is the forest tree. I'm just shrinking the district, not that it matters, because when you have a forestry district, that only impacts the industrial zones. So if it touches any other zone, like commercial zones, like this office zone here, that doesn't really impact it in any way. So look at that. That's our little forestry zone. That's our monorail. Let's see if we're getting some ridership on our monorail. Let's see. Let's go here. Well, we have 233 people taking the bus. That's a lot of people for a small city like this. And only 51 people a week takes the monorail. You know why? Because we only have 3 stops. Versus the bus has like 23 stops. That's pretty crazy. You know, if we wanted to, we could loop the monorail. I think we might have enough space to kind of loop it all around the city. Now that would be cool. That might be a project we might do for like day 3 of this game. Building a monorail system that connects the whole city. I like that idea. If I forget that tomorrow, that would suck. So, we emptied out our last landfill. Yay! I'm so happy. I hate having landfills in my city. So now we can rezone this to just be a normal industrial zone. Now, I actually hate normal industrial zones because they generate so much pollution. So what we're going to do is we're going to rezone them and just extend our forestry industrial zone here all the way to the top. What that's going to do is it's going to, on its own, the computer will demolish the normal industrial zone buildings, and over time, in a matter of a few minutes, turn that highly polluting normal industrial zone into a forest tree zone. Let's see how that impacts our industrial demand there on the RCI graph. And we are off to a good start in this city. We've got office zones now. So we have, you know, hopefully higher paying jobs. Let's look at the economy to verify that. We may just not have created enough of them. So we're actually making the bulk of our money right now still on the low density commercial zones. You're seeing we've got 6,600 per week there versus only 1,600 for the office zones that we've zoned. So far we're making more money on the normal commercial zones than we do with the office zones that we've constructed. We're making pretty good money on the industrial zones. 3,600 a week. 2,000 of that is coming from forestry. I'm hoping once this gets developed or redeveloped into a forestry region that we would have 100% mostly cleaner industrial zone. Actually, if you want a cleaner industrial zone, you should zone for farming. But zoning for farming actually requires that you zone it in an area where you see it's kind of orangey, yellowish, whatever the color that is. That would have been the prime real estate to zone for farming, which, if I was being smart, I should have. And you know what? It's never too late. I can, you know, rezone that later on another day. Wow, I'm looking at this city and there's not a single thing that is wrong with the city. That is highly unusual. Very, very unusual. So with that in mind, let us end the broadcast here. Let's end the video here. So we're off to a good start. We goofed off earlier. We messed up when we built the dam. It ended up holding back the water and causing the water here to actually completely drain out, which ultimately impacted our water supply and the flow of the water sewage in our city, which caused our citizens to get sick temporarily. But we fixed it by relocating our water pumps for we get fresh water to a safer spot. And right now our city is just looking absolutely fabulous with no problem that I can speak of. We are going to turn on this water pump even though we don't need it, just because it's the only icon other than that new fire that just happened that I could see flashing in our city. So with that fire, let's see if our fire department can deal with it. Oh, they already are. They're right there. They already stopped the fire. Good job, fire department. Look at that. A city with no blinking icon. That means everyone is pretty satisfied. I'm not gonna say happy. I'll just say satisfied. Because for some bizarre reason we are losing 7 people every week. And that's because we haven't been expanding our city. And by expanding, I mean building more residential. But that's okay. There should still be plenty of room for our citizens to move into our city, because not all of our buildings are level 5 buildings yet. So you can see some of them are getting upgraded. So as they get upgraded, that creates more capacity within our city. Cool. Well guys, this is Sin. I appreciate you tuning in to my live stream, my live broadcast. I hope you enjoyed watching me build my city. And tomorrow we'll get our city to reach the 14,000 milestone, which would unlock, what would that unlock? The crematorium and water treatment plant, something we will desperately need as our city grows. For now, let's just go ahead and save this city and I guess call it a day. Alright, thanks a lot guys.